Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Lions Grid. It is a football Sunday, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mr. Jeffrey Raymond. Jeffrey, how are you doing this Sunday?
Doing pretty good. Pretty cold. Winter is here. It's been a bone chilling past couple days, but yeah, Christmas just around the corner. It's a good time.
Yeah, I've been doing good on my shopping, but I have fallen victim to a cold, so I do apologize to everyone for sounding stuffy. It sounds much worse than it actually is. I'm doing okay
Sounds
as,
pretty
as far as
rough. He
feeling
sounds
wise, but
pretty rough. Let him have it in the chats. Let him have
it's
it.
been it's been a thing. It's been a thing. Been popping airborne, trying to get as much vitamin C on board as possible to help fight this bad boy off. But it's been a thing. It has been a thing. And speaking of battling Jeffrey, it's hard to believe that with an NFL best 11 game winning streak heading into week 15, the Lions would be in a position where they need to continue battling. But that's the timeline we live in, Jeffrey. That is the corner of the multiverse we find ourselves in. That even with 12-1 record, the Detroit Lions find themselves in. I'm not going to say it's a must-win game because they've clinched the playoffs, but if they want to maintain that number one spot, it is very much a must-win. And thank you
Yeah.
there, Aunt Heather, for chiming in with the feel better there. Oh, hey,
Heather
it's
sounds.
got the heart.
Oh,
Nice.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
We're discovering new things every week.
the technology keeps blowing me away.
Yeah, it's a mirror image with the Bills, who have wrapped it up pretty much for them. They are, obviously, I think they're not the team to let their foot off the gas either. But they have a margin for error that we don't, and nothing's going to be given to us. It seems like this entire season. So I expect us to go out there and play pretty hard as we have been this entire year.
Yeah, I think the most frustrating thing is not only does being 12-1 not have clinched us you know, separated us as the number one seed in the NFC. It hasn't separated us in the division either. So we're tied for being the best team in football, and yet we still have both the Philadelphia Eagles and the Minnesota Vikings right behind us, putting a pressure on us. So
Yeah.
it is tough sledding here for the Lions, and
And they're no slouches either. I
no,
mean,
they
we definitely have the advantage on the Packers, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see them again. And Minnesota, we play them earlier in the year, but they are not the same team now than when we did play them. So
yeah, and this week 15, Jeffrey, we were talking about it before the show. There are a lot of other good matchups this week.
yes,
One of those being the fact that the Eagles are having to play Pittsburgh, so that could be an interesting game. Now they are playing at home, so that's a little bit of advantage there for Pittsburgh. The Vikings, on the other hand, they get to play Chicago.
yeah,
So,
right.
I mean, we
Yeah,
we might get some help in terms of the Eagles and Pittsburgh, but I mean, I feel like it's going to be a cold day in hell if
yeah.
if the Chicago can beat the Vikings. But I mean, I don't know what the weather's like in Hell, Michigan, but it's probably cold.
It's
Probably cold.
yeah. The Bears have lost some wonky games this year. So, but I don't fully expect them winning a wonky game. To be honest with you.
Yeah, the Vikings have just looked good defensively, and then that passing attack with the two-headed monster there with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. It's kind of funny this season. I know Jordan Addison had those legal troubles right before the start of the season, and he's kind of been flying under the radar since then.
Yeah.
You haven't heard too much about him. Last week, you started to hear just a little bit more just because Sam Darnold had that like 5 touchdown day with 3 to him and 2 to Justin Jefferson. But
Yeah,
like,
he's had a couple pop up performances throughout the year, but it hasn't nearly been like he's definitely the number two to Justin Jefferson's number one kind of thing.
yeah,
It's been kind of a mix.
and he's definitely been doing his best to keep his name out of the news. So
Yeah,
probably a rather strategic move there, all things considered. But when it comes to strategy here, Jeffrey, some good news for the Lions when it comes to today's matchup against the Bills. Of course, that game is being played in the 4:25 window, so that is the latter half of the Sunday games here. We get quite a few players back in this game. Looking at the
Yeah.
injury report, Jeffrey Taylor Decker, Ayla McNeil, DJ Reader, Josh Pascal, Levi Onwuzurike. But there is
Those are some names.
those are
That's yeah, it's
that's some starters on the
yeah,
defense.
right.
Exciting stuff. But one player who has been playing rather well in that depleted linebacker core, Trevor Nowowski, he is not going to be playing in this game. He is out with a concussion. So while there is quite a bit to celebrate in terms of players we're getting back, we are losing one of those guys who has stepped up in that linebacking core. And so it'll be, it's great to see all of the players coming back, but it's going to be interesting to see how they continue to adapt that linebacking core. But we did see some good things from the new guys in that linebacking core just last week. So
Yeah, and shout out to Jack Campbell stepping up this year. I mean, based on just the way he's been playing, the way he's been able to kind of take over the green dot duties against big opponents with depleted men on the defensive side. He's at 98 tackles right now, so he's going for his 100th tackle today, and he is 30 more than our next leading tackler, and that is Brian Branch at 70. So he is a machine out there.
yeah, and really anchoring this defense with Aiden Hutchinson being out has been Kirby Joseph and Jack Campbell. You add their two tackles together, that's 152 for the pair of them. And then, of course, Kirby Joseph has also added 5 interceptions to that as well. So they have been they've been really, with all of the injuries we've seen along the defense, they have been two of the solid players there for the Lions. And it's hopefully continue to see them do that. And of course, you mentioned Brian Branch too. I think him and Kirby Joseph have really established themselves as being a premier safety duo in the NFL. And if we take a look real quick at the flip side of things and take a look at that Buffalo Bills injury report, you'll notice that a lot of their secondary is being listed on here. So out for sure is Rasul Douglas. Of course, Lions fans will be familiar for him because he is a former Green Bay Packer. That is a Buffalo Bill. He was traded last season to the Bills. And then they have their offensive tackle, Tylon Grable, who's questionable. Safety, Damar Hamlin, who is questionable in this game. Dalton Kincaid, Taylor Rapp, their free safety, is questionable. And then Casey Toohill, their defensive end, questionable. So a lot of guys questionable in this game for the Bills. Only Rasul Douglas is confirmed out heading into the game. But seeing both safeties, Taylor Rapp and Damar Hamlin there, along with Rasul Douglas missing for sure, could put some strain on that secondary for the Bills if all three of those guys are out or limited in this game, Jeffrey.
Yeah, especially because they let the Rams last week drop 44 on them. So
Puka was feasting. Puka, Cooper.
This defense can definitely be scored on and move the ball against. So this could be another high-scoring game. Now, I said that last time, and it ended up not being, but I don't know. I feel like this is ripe for high scoring for sure. Because then you have Josh Allen on the offensive side of the ball over there, who obvious kind of the leading MVP candidate, going to be out there slinging the ball. So there's going to be some yardage gained.
Yeah, it could gear up to be a shootout, and unlike the Rams and 49ers game that kicked off week 15, Jeffrey, with that rainy weather in San Francisco.
No tutties.
We're playing inside a dome, Jeffrey,
Yeah.
and that should facilitate a nice offensive battle. There's no,
Yep. Out of the way,
6
nature.
feet of
We got a football
snow,
game to play.
no rain. Like let's get down to brass tacks and make this happen. But yeah, it's I don't know if you saw too we're bringing back the what exactly do they call it? The black ice jerseys or whatever. So
that's what they call it, black ice.
I'm not sure if it's black ice or what exactly they call them.
So
but
we're wearing those today.
We're wearing those, but also interesting is they got approval from the NFL to wear or to make the logo in midfield black. So they got approved, and it is going to be a Black
Okay.
Lions logo on
Cool.
the
All
field there
right.
today.
I'm
So
all for that. I love when they let teams do like just kind of aesthetic changes and theme changes that are like kind of all the way through. I think we should have more of that. Some more throwbacks. Although say what you will about some of the color schemes that came out of the color rush era, they put up some at least have put up some interesting changes on twists onto some of the teams. And you know me, I like me some uniforms. I always kind of I'm kind of a uniform junkie kind of thing as far as new jerseys and the way teams kind of brand themselves and the teams kind of set themselves up. But yeah, I'm all for it.
yeah, I think I guess what they called it I guess the official name is the Motor City, or was that last year's no, the All Black Luke is supposed to be the Motor City Muscle. Yeah.
Oh,
Is that what
okay.
it's called? I don't know. I've seen multiple names. It's hard to say what's an official name and what is just a fan made name that I've seen on Reddit. There's a lot of stuff out there, but the point is we're going to be looking good. The field is going to be
Yes.
looking good. It's going to be definitely a playoff esque atmosphere down there at Ford Field today, Jeffrey. And it is.
That's a
I mean,
potential Super Bowl matchup here. Different stakes, I think they hear, which kind of would. Like I said, I don't think Buffalo will ever let off the gas. I think they're going to play this game as hard as they can, kind of thing. But definitely, we're seeing the two best teams now here, kind of going punch for punch.
most certainly, most certainly. And I know in this particular game too, we talked about the injuries to the defensive side for the Buffalo Bills, but there were also a couple members of that passing game attack for the Bills in Dalton Kincaid and Quentin Morris, both being limited participants in practice throughout the week. So some pressure could be on Josh Allen there. Of course, last week he did have some success throwing to Kahil Sakir, who was a guy early on that I know people with fantasy football were saying was a good sleeper pick. And as pointed out, I saw on the social medias that he will be lining up against Amik Robertson. And there was some back and forth there. A Twitter account said that he could feast going up against Robertson, and Robertson said, "We'll see." And so, I mean, that could be it could be a storyline in this game to watch.
It can't be any worse than Debo's call out and subsequent performance on Thursday.
On
Can't be
the
worse than that.
Yeah, it has not been a good season there for Debo. Yeah, one
And that
to
other guy,
forget.
did you see that other guy who refused to go in the game and all his teammates just kind of went,
Devondre Campbell, a
yeah,
former Green Bay Packer.
former Green Bay Packer, man. Those Packers, they're a particular type.
They some divas up there in the frozen north,
Yeah, I
apparently.
guess.
Oh,
Well, that's wild. Usually, in the media, players kind of keep it neutral to somewhat supportive of teammate, but this was just like like
really across
George
the board, yeah.
George Kittle was out there talking shit, so it's bad when George Kittle's out there bashing a teammate. So
Yeah, it's very interesting, very very interesting. Um, and yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about players, sort of talking about teammates in the news in a second when we get to our roaring or boring questions, Jeffrey. Because there was, of course, another team recently that had some players talking about certain relationships rather publicly. But in terms of this game, Jeffrey, I mean, uh, you know, Jameer Gibbs is on the top 5 for rushing this year for the NFL. So certainly, and David Montgomery has another 700 yards he's contributing. So that's 1,700 yards between the two of them, which would just barely get them over Saquon Barkley's total that he has on the season. But
yeah,
I,
he's going to have a chance to be cracking this record this year. He does have to get over 100 today, though.
and the best part is, even though the Eagles may not have something to play for the last week of the season, he does have the chance to set that record against no other than the New York Giants. So, I mean, that is a particularly
Oh,
spicy element there.
he stayed his hand in that last game. I don't know if he will this time.
Yeah, I mean, he stated because he was like, "I've already done enough. Let the younger guys eat." But
Yeah,
I
but
mean, on
now
that
it's like,
particular day, he wouldn't have eaten yet.
yeah,
So I mean, it stands to reason
yeah,
he'd at least want a plate from the table, right? And
yeah. Oh man,
uh,
yeah, he's gonna absolutely eat their lunches.
yeah, if you look at them, they're 16 and a half point underdogs to the Ravens today. The Giants are, so I can't
That's a lot
imagine
of
it's going
wood
to look
being
any.
laid down. That's a lot of wood.
Yeah, it's not going to look any better there. And then catching up with Cody, glad to have you on the show here, going with the Let's Go Lions, and yeah, Jeffrey, I think one of the things for this Detroit Lions team that's going to make it different. Not that the Rams aren't a good running team as well. Kyron Williams has had a fairly good season here for them as well. But the fact that not only do you have to worry about Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, J-Mo, Tim Patrick now joining the list of guys you got to watch out for. Not only do you have to worry about this Lions passing attack with the running backs contributing to that as well, but you also have to be worried about this running game. So I think the way that defense struggled against the Rams offense, the fact that we have this multifaceted attack, I really expect us to be able to take care of business here. And it's gotten to the point, Jeffrey, just like with the Chiefs, I'm not picking against them until somebody loses. I've reached that point with the Lions, man. Until somebody comes out and beats them, I'm saying the Lions are going to win the game, and it's kind of
Yeah,
it's a cool
absolutely.
place to be in, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely. And regarding the running back usage, we're basically on the season at a 50-50 split in usage between Montgomery and Gibbs. Only two carries separate them, 178 for Gibbs and 180 for Dave Montgomery. So we're seeing a clear strategy here in making sure these guys are, one, producing, obviously, but two, we're kind of mitigating their injuries. We're mitigating kind of their energy level, the ability to kind of maintain a high peak performance this entire time. And I would not be surprised with this going on, Saquon Barkley kind of breaking out, and running backs in general having pretty good years, that we might see some more like um, two tandem premier running back rooms as we go on here in the next few years.
Yeah, I think you're kind of in that position where you have a couple ways to attack it, right? Like if you can find, and mind you, those bell cow running backs are a rare breed, but certainly this season has shown that they do still exist. Like they are not a thing of the past.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't get that guy, you can take two very good running backs, combine them together, and then produce an equally effective rushing attack. So um, I think you just have to be. I think the crux for teams moving forward is going to be recognizing when you have that guy and when you have the guy that needs a good running mate with them.
Right.
Because I think the Giants are a good example of an organization that did not realize they had a guy there lining up in the backfield.
Their rookie that they drafted seems like he's pretty good. You could have paired him with like Saquon, and you just have constant, fairly peak performance running backs kind of going every single snap, which is it's difficult to deal with. I mean, Jameer Gibbs has the more yards per carry. Going in at 5.7, but David Montgomery is a bruiser. He's sitting only at 4.3, but he has more touchdowns. We definitely love to use him on fourth down running situations just because
Mm-hmm.
he is an absolute beast. So it opens up all kinds of strategies. And this is not to crap on Jared Goff, but you're taking a lot of pressure off of your quarterback having to be like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady out there having to be like, we are pinning our entire franchise on this one quarterback play. Now, you're kind of running a more of a team system here, having your run and your pass kind of helping out. You don't have to have your quarterback be a hero every time.
Well, it's funny you should mention a hero at the quarterback position, Jeffrey, because as we transition into our roaring or boring questions here for this week, Jeffrey, the first one up is I know you had alluded to earlier that Josh Allen is currently the favorite for the MVP. But for our first roaring or boring question here, Jeffrey, if Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions beat Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, should Jared Goff be the front runner for the
Oh,
MVP?
ooh, I think if Jared Goff has a game where he is just like laser efficient and he puts up big numbers and wins, I think so. I think if it's more of like a round and pound and like the running backs are clearly what's going on and Jared Goff makes like a couple mistakes or throws a pick or something, then I could see that not happening. But if Jared Goff balls out today and kind of beats the front runner, I mean that says a lot.
I just think it certainly does, and I had said many moons ago if this
You
offensive
did.
line stayed healthy, that Jared Goff could win this MVP award, and I do believe if he comes out here and they have a quality game and they beat the Buffalo Bills, that he is going to do a lot to set himself up to win the MVP. I do think, however, that it's a kind of a double edged sword because I do think it opens up him in that discussion, but I think it also opens up the discussion more for Saquon Barkley as well,
Mhm.
based off of the season he's having. Um, because I think right now Josh Allen, they have the record and he has sort of the stats to kind of propel himself towards the award. Um, if he, if he gets the loss here, I think he starts to that record element starts to decay a little bit and invites competition towards the top of it. And so I think that helps out Goff, but I think it also helps out Barkley as well to potentially be a non QB to sneak in there and get the award. So it'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see how it plays out. But I definitely think, I mean, we've talked about all of the injuries, especially to the defensive side of the ball that this Lions team has had. And so one of the most consistent things for this Lions team has been the offense. And even though it has been a team effort to get them to this 12-1 record, I think Jared Goff has been that guy, that piece. And I don't think he is as irreplaceable a cog as there is, but I don't think that takes away necessarily from his contributions to the team. Like I do think other quarterbacks could come into the system and be successful, but I think Jared Goff is an essential part of the team
Oh yeah,
anyways. So like
absolutely.
just because, he isn't necessarily uh first ballot Hall of Famer in there at QB
Hey, just
doesn't
you wait.
necessarily
Just you
mean.
wait.
I mean, yeah, we could see. He's already been to one Super Bowl. If they can come in here, take us to another one, and get that first one for the Lions, I mean, that's
Yeah,
a pretty
and
big
really,
achievement.
really, I mean, if you look at the numbers just with Josh Allen versus Jared Goff, at least on the passing stats, I
Mhm.
mean, really that anomalous game where he threw five
Last
picks.
week made it. It was. They looked very similar, and last week kind of was the only real outlier there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but he's sitting at 10. I think what holds it back is that Josh is sitting at 5. But one anomalous game versus the entire season's work it makes a strong case for sure, because he has more yards, sitting at 265 versus 3,033 for Josh Allen. Completion percentages, Jared Goff's over 70%, Josh Allen 64. Josh Allen's more of a gunslinger, I think, so that's going to kind of lead to that. But stat wise and what they bring to the team and kind of what you said as far as like the importance, he'll make a strong case today if he balls out and they win. Direct competition, I'm roaring that one.
Roaring it. I like it. I like it a lot, Jeffrey. All right. Our next question here, Jeffrey, factors in our good friends, the Minnesota Vikings. And this one was alluded to during our last show on Tuesday. But, Jeffrey, is it roaring or boring that the seeding for the NFC playoffs will come down to that week 18 matchup with the Minnesota Vikings? Do you think it will take until the very last week for things to be decided?
Oh, I think so. Obviously today's going to be a big role. I don't think I don't think the Vikings are going to get challenged too much today. I'd assume, but I see the Eagles falling today. So, and I don't know if
Ooh,
the Eagles
spicy.
are. I don't think they're as good as their record. To be honest with you, I know Saquon Barkley is destroying it, but they've played against pretty much the worst run defenses you could in a schedule this year. Which, not to take anything away from Saquon, the things he's doing is amazing, right? And I think he's the MVP of that team, and possibly the league. But as a team, they haven't had to do much on the passing game. Their defense is pretty good; it keeps them in there. But I don't know, their passing game seems pretty wonky to me. And just the vibes, right? Because that collapse last year, that 11-win team collapsed at the end of that, and things going on in the locker room. Sirianni, not quite sure what he is over there, kind of thing. I feel like there's something there. To me, they're kind of a paper tiger. So I think it's going to be between us and Minnesota.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because related to that, Jeffrey, is the question around, is Philadelphia due to drop a game here this week with everything that's going on in the media? You have stories coming out about Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, about them not being friends. And this AJ Brown being frustrated with his usage despite the team being 11-2. And you mentioned Nick Sirianni, because I do think he's an interesting piece in this whole conversation, Jeffrey. I mean, he doesn't call the plays for offense or defense. Like, his whole job is to be like the locker room glue guy. And to your point, they're here having public conversations about locker room relationships.
Yeah.
It's not a great look.
Yeah, and he was forced to kind of clear house of all of his under coordinators last year to keep him on board. He's not like the reins are being held by others in the organization for sure. So
he it's the weirdest thing. He might have like the hottest butt of any quarterback of any coach that's likely to be retained. It's so weird. Like his team's doing the best, but just for whatever reason,
that collapse at the end of the year was just really, really wild to me. And I feel like there's a hangover from whatever's going on. What all kicked this off was Big Dom getting kicked off of the sidelines. Man, they brought him back, but I don't think they brought back the mojo.
It certainly seemed to upset the apple cart, the flow they had going. So it's interesting, man. I mean, so never a dull moment with Philadelphia, Jeffrey.
Yeah, but back to your question, I'm roaring. They're going down today.
You're liking Russell Wilson, and I mean, I think I definitely like the Steelers' defense. What we've seen out of T.J. Watt and company has been rather impressive. So
this is a real run defense they're going up against. So we'll see.
Although I do the wild card, I do think is Pittsburgh's offense, because you're never really. Sometimes Russ is going to come out there and throw for nearly 500 yards. Other times he's going to struggle to break 100, apparently, and you never really know what you're going to get out of this.
You got Jordan Pickens over there, easily their most talented receiver, but also
the most volatile player on the team.
Equally as stupid. You don't know if he's gonna be the best player in the world for a couple of plays, or he's gonna be swinging at a quarterback's name he doesn't know. So you just don't know. You just don't know what you're gonna get about that. But their defense is for real.
Well, it's funny you should mention the best player in the world. And I know usually we stick to the NFL here, Jeffrey, but yesterday was the College Football Awards. And Travis Hunter bringing home the Heisman Award, Jeffrey. Is it roaring or boring, though, that, of course, he plays both ways there, receiver and cornerback, but was, let's see, it's is it Alshon Jeffrey, the running back for BYU, or not BYU, Boise State?
Alshon Jeffrey, like the wide receiver back in the day?
I think I'm getting his name wrong. Hold on. It's sorry, Allison. No, it's not Allison Jeffrey. What the hell? There's an easy way to do this. Heisman Trophy winner 2024. Ashton Genty. Sorry, I was way off. Ashton Genty is the Boise State running back, who is 200 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders' college football single season record. And of course, with the expanded playoffs this season, Jeffrey certainly has a chance to do that. So is it roaring or boring that it is he was burned by not winning the award and it going to Travis Hunter instead.
I think he's burned by the fact that in any other year he would have won this just with the historic connotations to the rushing record. I think what kind of what was the stick in his craw kind of thing was the fact that a two-way player is being this successful and impactful to the point where they are being considered for the Heisman Trophy. I think that and the fact that that doesn't happen very often really worked against him because it's truly, getting that rushing record is no joke.
Yeah,
but he's got possible extra games now, so I think he's just a victim of what is happening next to him, kind of thing.
Well, people have definitely been blowing it up because they have been going hard on the stats, like Twitter in particular. So Sam Block at the Block Spot on Twitter points out that Derrick Henry had 2,219 yards rushing, won the Heisman. Ricky Williams had 2,124 yards, won the Heisman. Ron Dane had 1,834 Heisman. Reggie Bush 1,740 Heisman. Mark Ingram 1,658 Heisman. And then you have Ashton Jeanty, 2,497, second place. So
yeah,
they got that. And then if you look at the head-to-heads, Ashton Jeanty has first in rushing yards in college football, first in rushing TDs, first in yards per carry, first in yards after contact, and first in forced missed tackles. Travis Hunter, on the other hand, is sixth in receiving yards, fifth in receptions, second in receiving touchdowns, and 17th in interceptions. So people are pointing out that, hey, Ashton Jeffrey is leading in like every category for running backs, whereas Travis Hunter isn't leading in any category as a wide receiver or a defensive back.
But he's playing two completely different.
That is a very good.
Well,
yeah.
That's where I think the pop. I think that's where the extra pop is from.
Yeah,
I think. But yeah, what a way to lose though, man. Because like you were absolutely balling out, breaking Saint Barry Sanders' record out there. So it's yeah, definitely for me. What was roaring or boring again? Am I roaring or boring this?
Yeah, you roaring or do you find it roaring or boring that Travis Hunter won instead of Ashton Jeanty?
Oh, I'm going to say roaring because it doesn't surprise me based on that. So roaring. Based on the circumstances, does not surprise me.
Now, do you think that Travis Hunter attempts to play both sides of the ball in the NFL, or do you think he is going to choose a position?
It depends on if he gets drafted onto a Coach Prime team or not. I think
Coach Prime.
If I know he said he's not interested in an NFL job, but if he inevitably gets one, I could see him trying to get some of his guys onto the team. Then if that ever works out with Travis Hunter being on Coach Prime's team, he'll definitely let him do that. But I think if he goes to an actual NFL team, they're going to probably slot him in where they see him better. I wouldn't be surprised though if they at least try him out in game situations at both to kind of see what goes on. But I think eventually he's going to be kind of pushed into one thing.
Yeah, it strikes me as being kind of. I mean, it's hard enough to do it at the collegiate level, but to attempt to do that at the NFL level, I mean, he's already built different for being able to do both as is. But just you'd have to be like Superman to be out there for every down on both offense and defense in the NFL. So.
Yeah, right. Like imagine like guarding Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then having to go and like go against Brian Branch out there on the other side. That's going to take a lot of mental energy just having to do all that stuff because the offenses are way more complicated. The defenses are way more complicated. Plus, you're also, by the way, playing against the best athletes in the world. The game has been upped the difficulty.
Yep. You're going to all Madden difficulty at that point in time.
There's no assists anymore. It's all use your stick now.
We're no longer on rookie, man. It's a whole new world.
Yeah.
All right, Jeffrey. Well, let's switch here now and go to our locks of the week. And this, as we were talking about, Jeffrey, this week 15 slate of games is fantastic. Like there are some great games. not to give away our locks of the week, but some of the ones that we were talking about that we're not picking in this one. You got the Packers and the Seahawks. They are squaring off during Sunday Night Football. The Packers are traveling to Seattle. Of course, Seattle currently in first place in the NFC West, 8-5, and the Packers 9-4 after last week's loss to the Lions. Just to refresh the wound there.
I can see the Packers going down here and kind of getting into a little bit of a free fall, slipping back into the pile that's behind us, getting into the playoffs.
So they still have, even if they lose, looking at the NFL's playoff probability tracker, they are still at a 92% chance of probability of making the playoffs with a loss. So it's not going to hurt them too bad. But if they win, it grows to a greater than 99% chance of making it. So they can't clinch with a win, but they can make it pretty much reach those Thanos levels of it being essentially inevitable there for a victory.
Yeah, another matchup I'm looking at here that I could potentially be spicy. The Chiefs and the Browns at the Browns. The Chiefs have been just winning by the skin of their teeth this entire season, and I expect that to kind of continue, especially when you got famous Jameis, who can throw you 7 touchdowns and 7 picks in one game. I think it's going to be a kind of a wild game there. It's something to watch. It's 4.5 points there, so even Vegas is not thinking. I think it's going to be more of the same with the Chiefs.
You just don't know what you're going to get out of those Browns. They are a wild card.
For personal reasons, the game I'm most scared about is the Bengals at the Titans, because I'm in fantasy football playoffs here. My opponent has Joe Burrow throwing against the Titans, so I'm quaking in my boots over here because that could be an early exit for me, but not a full touchdown on that one. It's only 6 points.
Yeah, which is surprising. You would think, just based off of their 2 seasons. I know the Bengals have had a disappointing season overall, but I think we can objectively look at the 2 teams and say the Bengals are a better team based off of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase alone than what we're seeing over there with the Titans.
So yeah, absolutely.
Surprising that the odds are that close. And then I think another interesting game that's on here, Jeffrey, that we aren't talking about is the Commanders at the Saints. Now, the Saints obviously are 5-8. They're without Derek Carr, so there's a lot going in favor of the Commanders in this game. This game is more so interesting because if the Commanders were to lose, their playoff probability goes down to 57%. So the Rams are right behind them at 8-6. Of course, they're on a 3-game winning streak. I think they're 7-1 over their last 8 games.
Interim head coach Rizzy getting it done.
So if Rizzy can come out here and surprise the Commanders, he opens the door here for the Rams. And the Commanders, if they win, they go up to an 85% chance of making the playoffs. If they lose, they go down to a 57% chance. So it's a big game on the calendar here for the Commanders against the Saints, and they have all of the arrows pointing in their favor, but we'll have to see if they can come out here and execute when it counts. Similarly, another close game is the Broncos and the Colts. The Broncos are currently hold on to that wild card seed in the AFC playoffs, or the final wild card spot. And if they win, they go up to an 89%. If they lose, they go down to a 48%. And the team right behind them on the bubble is the Colts. They are currently in 8th place in the AFC playoff picture. So 2 big games there for those last couple of teams trying to.
Which one of Anthony Richardson's 11 passes will be caught for a positive game? We shall see.
It'll happen in the 4th quarter, and it'll probably go to Pierce because he always he always seems to find a way to catch one there in the 4th quarter to give him a shot at the victory.
Yeah, good. Yeah, all around. Miami and Houston could get spicy with Miami kind of surging back in there and Houston kind of reeling a bit. One I was strongly considering was the Jets and the Jaguars. That's a pretty spooky game right there. I would just be interested in watching that because I feel like when you got 2 pretty bad teams going against each other, that could and typically leads to some fairly entertaining football. So would not mind seeing kind of a spooky game over there either.
Now, Jeffrey, do you personally feel like the switch in the playoff format, where now there's only one team getting a bye, do you feel like that has negatively impacted the playoffs from like the top teams' perspective? Because now there's only one shot at getting that bye. So, like, if you're not in a position to capture that, like, what are you? I mean, what are you really playing for at that point in time?
Yeah, it's I think I wouldn't mind there being. I'm okay with the way it is. It definitely makes it harder, and I think I would like to see more seasons kind of end results of this because for the past couple seasons, I feel like when they made this switch over to this, there's a lot of teams who kind of just like fell backwards into that last spot, then just get like absolutely thumped there. So like, maybe instead of that, we give another team a bye kind of thing, rather reward the good teams a
Yeah,
little bit
what
more.
if the solution is we expand it to an 8-team playoff, but instead of giving everybody no bye, we have the first and the second seeds get the byes. Then we have the last two teams in play the other two division winners, and then the two teams that were just below the division winners, they square off in a wild card.
Okay. So I kind of like that too. Like reward the good teams, make the teams who are fighting to get in there, they have to fight to get there kind of thing. I'm totally okay with that.
I think that could be a good way to help incentivize teams because I do feel like now that you only have one team that can get the bye, like when you get towards the later thing, it's like, okay, let's just rest the guys because we're really not gaining anything.
Yeah.
But so let's take the bye, essentially take the bye this week and not play the game. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be I'll be curious to see how they kind of do because they're already like there's definitely going to be another game added to this
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
season for sure. They've already talked about it. They want to expand. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to go up to 20 games or something like that. But like it's coming, and you have to be able to facilitate with the more games being played. One, these guys are going down all the time, and the amount of stress on their bodies for the sport because it's a violent sport. It puts a lot on the body. Now you're having to extend it out. You're not giving teams rests now. Do you increase the number of bye weeks? There's just a lot of factors outside of just money. So, so
But money may be the only one they care
yeah,
about.
yeah, that, yeah, absolutely.
But regardless here, Jeffrey, let's lock in here now. Our picks. I'll go with mine first here. I know we've both been riding quite the hot streak here lately. So I'm feeling, I had started to get a little loosey goosey there with my picks. But after, going on, I think we're on at least a 3-week streak of being correct here. So I feel like it's time to get a little loosey goosey again. So I'm going to get a little spicy with this pick. Tampa Bay is traveling to Los Angeles this Sunday, Jeffrey, to play the Chargers. Tampa Bay is the underdog. Chargers are favored by 3. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield and this Buccaneers team to go on the road
All
and
right.
get the victory
I
over
like
the
that.
Chargers.
I like that. The Chargers, obviously, right, coming off that loss, and the Tampa Bay surging. They're starting to get healthy, so it's a good matchup.
Justin Herbert's also a little beat up there. So I'm a little concerned about the Chargers, and of course they don't have Dobbins yet back, or Dobbins in there for the running
Yeah,
game. So
the run game looked terrible without Dobbins in it.
yeah, so
And
I'm
I'm
thinking
always interested in seeing when the Lions only having our loss on the season, and that being to the Buccaneers. I'm always interested in seeing that because Buccaneers beat the Eagles too, and I think they're a lot better than what their record is. So
yeah, I think they've it's certainly a team impacted by that stretch where they did lose Mike Evans for a little bit, along with the injury to Chris Godwin. That definitely hurt them. But they do now have McMillan, who's sort of stepping up and kind of playing that second fiddle role with Mike Evans back. So, and of course, their running game, whether it's been Rashad White, the sort of incumbent veteran running back there, or Mr. Bucky Irving, the rookie who's sort of exploded onto the scene, their rushing attack has been rather playing playing rather well as well. So I
Oh,
like Tampa Bay in this game. Go and steal one from the Chargers on the West Coast.
yeah, I like that pick. A lot of good ones to choose from. The one I'm going with, and you said you were a little loosey goosey with the picks. Some people, one man's loosey goosey pick is another man's cowardly pick, as I've been accused of by your father, who's been awfully silent here. I expected.
I know why he's been silent. He
Oh,
usually will join us in the show, but he is off helping secure a Christmas tree at the moment. So
oh,
he
okay.
is he'll have to catch us on the recording on the
Yeah,
playback. But
yeah. Because he'd probably take the Lions by the Bills by like 20 or something like that, But especially our MVP Jared talk or like Jared Goff
oh
MVP
yeah,
talk.
there would
It
have been
was
a lot of
silent there,
comments about
yeah, right.
dummies, and it'd have been yeah.
But he's not here. He can't call this cowardly because I'm taking something spicy. I'm taking the Carolina Panthers over the Dallas Cowboys. 2.5 points, according to Vegas. It's at the Panthers. Look, Dallas sucks, right? They are having kind of a nightmare season, and the Panthers are playing like a completely different team. Bryce Young's playing like a completely different player. I'm playing CJ Stroud right now, currently.
Mhm.
Speaking of that rookie class there. So, I could see some spiciness going on. The Panthers are been close, but not getting it done. But Dallas, man, they know how to lose some games. So I'm taking these plucky Panthers.
Going with the plucky Panthers. I
Yeah,
like it. I like it. Uh, it's going to be interesting to see. We were talking before the show. I think this could be a game where I know Jerry Jones has been very outwardly spoken about supporting Mike McCarthy. Notice he hasn't signed him to an extension, but he has been, in the media saying, "Oh yeah, he's a Super Bowl winning coach. We're bringing him back." But I wonder here if a loss to the Panthers could be that nail in the coffin that ultimately helps them decide that they're not retaining his services moving forward.
yeah. I mean, it really depends on if Jerry Jones still thinks it's the Cam Newton era in the Panthers. Because he seems to hold on to a lot of things that happened in the past. So if he thinks Cam Newton's and Ron Rivera there at the Panthers, he's probably like, oh, they lost to a pretty decent team. It'll be good or something like
You'll
that.
see Adam Thielen catch a bunch of passes, and he'll be like, "Of course, it was Adam Thielen. He's a Pro Bowler.
He's a
He's
Pro Bowler, right?
fantastic."
In the prime of his career. Chuba Hubbard, who's that? Oh, that must be their rookie this year. Never heard of that guy. But I
Solid.
agree. I think it could if Jerry Jones's mind is not too addled at this point.
It'll be interesting. I think he's definitely, usually people accuse coaches of like coach speak and things like that. Because Jerry Jones is one of the more outspoken owners, I feel like he does a lot of coach speak as the owner, where he just comes out and says things, and you're really not going to know what's going to happen until the end of the season, and then it's like, okay, so you were saying I'm a big Mike McCarthy fan. Can't help but notice you haven't extended him, and then at the end of the season, you're like, yeah, we decided to go in a different direction.
We decided to hire Zeke Elliott as head coach of the Cowboys.
Of course, it is kind of hard to figure out, is he actually not signing him out of like he doesn't want to, or is it like, oh, that comes later, kind of like free agency and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, I know it's officially started, but we don't start that until later.
It's not the Cowboys season.
He's on his own schedule, and that's all that matters. All right, Jeffrey. That leaves us with, of course, our pick here. And this is another game. I think it's been the last few weeks here where the Lions game would have qualified for our lock of the week based off of the spread here against these Buffalo Bills, Jeffrey. But it is time to lock in our picks for this one. And you risked it for the biscuit last week, Jeffrey. You went with the Packers. It didn't pay off.
I'm glad I was wrong. I'm really glad I was wrong because that was an awesome win.
Hey, it was the mathematically right play. I understand you were going to close the gap.
I ate that cheese against my will.
Dan Campbell heard it though, and I know I was accused of being a Packers sympathizer, even though, due to my previous history, and
And
fan
actions
alignment,
upon
but
the
I'm just
show.
somebody's record for Pick'em directly reflects the Lions' record. Jeffrey,
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah, I've got too cute this season. I'm not getting cute here. I'm going with the Lions. We are going to get this win. We need it more, and we're going to play hard. And we've not had another team say that we can't do it yet. The Buffalo Bills is the best chance, so let's see it.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a great game. I'm there with you. I'm going with the Lions, but I do think it'll be a great litmus test for this team. Not that we really need it because we know we got to play the Vikings later on.
Every week's a litmus test for us.
But it's always good to test yourself. And if you're not challenging yourself, Jeff, you're not getting better. I guess
If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. I don't remember who said that, but
exactly. So
it
you know
rings
what?
true right here.
as this Lions team continues to try to march on to the Super Bowl, I'm going with them getting a victory here. And again, we talked about the injuries to the Bills secondary. I think that definitely has a potential to allow Jared Goff and this passing attack for the Lions to find success. The fact we're getting back so many players on defense should help bolster up our defense. And hopefully we get to see this Lions victory without any key losses in personnel. That is my main hope. Let's get the victory, but let's not lose any more people to season-ending injuries.
Let's get healthier, not hurtier.
Yep, we are going to need people for the postseason because we're definitely headed there. We have the playoff spot clinched, but let's make sure that we help hold on to this first place spot by taking care of our business. We can't control what the Eagles, what the Vikings are doing. All we can do is take care of the opponent that's on the field. And let's go take down these Bills, man.
Yeah.
Let's give Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld a nice engagement present with a nice big L there for
That's
them.
right. Take that L on your honeymoon.
Fresh from Detroit. Nice
I'm pretty sure with the amount of money they're raking in, they probably have many honeymoons.
Yeah,
but
well,
at that point,
it's
for us poors, isn't any kind of trip they would take a honeymoon situation?
Probably, and I know, like speaking of being poor, when it comes to the cost of the tickets for today's game, if you are somebody who is making it down for the game, I know tickets for like this game were supposed to be like ridiculous. Yeah, the cheapest ticket at the moment, it's the most expensive game in this NFL season. The cheapest ticket on TickPick is $4.75. Some of the tickets are costing thousands of dollars on ticketing apps. So
dang, it's not even a prime time game, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's just a 4:25 slot, but it's a big matchup here. So it's I expect it to be like a playoff-esque atmosphere. I imagine we're going to hear a lot of Jared Goff.
Ouch.
But yeah, it's I'm excited, Jeffrey. It's going to be a great game to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited too, and I think I don't hate the Bills by any means. I do like them. I don't want them to be in the Super Bowl. I don't want this matchup at all. Detroit. I don't like the spookiness of the two teams that are due against each other because
I'm not necessarily opposed to it because here's my theory. I know you're saying it's sort of a destiny type thing of you have these two opposing forces coming together,
and I'm a skeptic,
but here's my theory. It probably means at that point that they've finally beaten the Chiefs to get into the Super Bowl. So I feel like that's the trap for them. They're going to finally be like, we beat the Chiefs, we got over it, and then we've lost to the damn Lions. That's what I'm hoping happens to poor Buffalo Bills fans. I hate to see it for you, but I feel like you're gonna the team's gonna be so ecstatic about finally beating Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and those Kansas City Chiefs that they're just like, you know what? They just don't have it come Super Bowl time.
And then when we put them through the table at the Super Bowl, about the Chiefs.
And Dan Campbell's been like, we've been motivated on winning the Super Bowl the whole time. So yeah, that's my hope. But certainly, I think the between the Bills mafia, the Bills fans and whatnot. I feel like it's a great, hopefully we'll see people going through tables. It's a great environment, right?
Yeah.
So
I
definitely
saw
I think
some
it's
on the Detroit Lions subreddit. There was some people posting some pictures of some bars that are making some Bills hang out for the Lake Erie Bro crew kind of thing. It's
nice.
good. I feel like both their fan bases are pretty sweet. So
Yeah, and I do like those environments where you're not like hated rivals. So like the
yeah,
game is like people less being like assholes to one another, and like people more so just like
yeah.
being like, we know this is going to be a good game, and like let's have a party. Like
We're both finally good. Thank God. Let's just celebrate.
I like those vibes a lot better, where you can have like mutual respect and be like, yeah, I don't hate you, I want to win this game, but like
Yeah.
we can still share a beer. Whereas instead, where it's like, no, don't talk to me, don't touch me, stay
Now,
out of here.
now that won't stop fools out there from getting into it, I'm sure. But
That's
the
true. Well,
vibe
that's the
is like,
downside of when you're partying pregame, is that post game you've already partied, and at that point in time, judgments can be clouded, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it should be a pretty good game down there at Ford Field, and looking forward to it. All right, Jeffrey. Well, we want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Of course, we did miss Old Faithful there in the chat again. He's off securing a Christmas tree with my sister, but I'm sure he will catch us in the recording, and then he'll be back on Tuesday probably with us to hopefully. Again, I apologize. I'm dying over here, but hopefully be able to celebrate a Lions victory come Tuesday, where we will be coming to you live, as always, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And of course, if you do enjoy the show and want to help our channel grow, the best way you can do that is by liking, following, and subscribing to our content on the platform of your choice. We are making that push for 100 subscribers on YouTube, and let me check in to see where we are currently. We're sitting at 69 subscribers, so one more will put us to 70, and then we just got 30 more to go. So if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel on YouTube. If you want, you can also ring the bell, and then you'll be updated all the time when we go live. Again, we're typically live on Tuesdays at 6:30 and Sundays at 11 a.m. And then, of course, you can check us out on both those platforms for the recorded content, or all those platforms for the recorded content. And then we're also on Shopify, Instagram, and for the moment, TikTok, until that gets banned on January 19th. And then I don't know what happens at that point with all that stuff. But for our internet, well, I guess if you're one of our international fans, because we do get a couple of people watching in international places, if you're not in the United States, does not apply. I don't think it's getting banned anywhere else besides, the land of the free banning, apps.
we wouldn't be able to post anything on there after that, though. So that kind of
Well, I'm not sure if we would be unable to, because the app is getting that is an interesting question that I haven't thought about, because the app is supposed to be being removed from the app stores, but I'm not sure if it's a website. So are they going to block a whole website as well?
I didn't realize there's like a browser version of it.
There is. That's actually how the only reason I know is because that's how I upload the videos to it, is through the actual web one. So that'll be interesting. That's a good point. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's out of our hands and everything like that. But thank you there, Heather Wayne, for the great show. Go Lions. And Jeffrey, as always, that's how we like to end the show there, with a rousing Go Lions.
All right. Go Lions, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone for stopping by. And again, game is at 4:25 today. It is on CBS. So if you're looking to stream the game, CBS will be the place to get it.
We have Tony Romo and Jim Nantz today.
Yep, Jim Nantz did say that he would go through and do the table drop if there were fans here at the Lions game that were doing it. So we'll have to see if he honors that. He was saying that during last week's broadcast.
He's going to let someone throw him through a table.
Well, it's not so much throw him through the table as so much as him jumping through the table.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like I forget, was that CBS's broadcast that also did that with is CBS the one that has Howie Long and Bill Cowher, and
Oh,
I think
shoot.
that's CBS,
I
right?
think that's CBS. Yeah.
Yeah, they all Michael Strahan, they all did it. They were at a
Okay.
thing doing the table drop, so maybe they'll just do it with Jim Nance and Tony Romo here this
Yeah, I
afternoon.
don't know, Jim.
Oh, there's a while we're on this, there's a guy I like who's on TikTok who does a spoof parody thing where he will do the voice of Chris Collinsworth, and then he'll also do Tony Romo, and he was having him do this thing where they were lifting weights. I'll have to look that up, and I'll put a link to the thing in the description of the video. But hilarious, he was knocking down all their mannerisms. Good,
Oh man,
good stuff, man.
Chris Collinsworth. I actually like him better with Tarico as his co-host. They bring out some goofiness out there, and I'm all for that.
Just pair Al Michaels full time with Herb Street, and just get Tarico and Collinsworth together.
Thank God most of these Thursday night games have been good, because I thought we were going to lose Al Michaels like on air, like he was going to fall asleep and just it's just
well, the recipe is definitely seemed to be like focusing on divisional matchups, and that's definitely paid off here this season. They've had some spicy Thursday night games. Well, one last cough to end the show here, and again, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you on Tuesday. Well, bye.
Bye.